nations, the Potawatomi, Ojibwa,
Recording in
Odawa,
progress.
and other Native American tribes. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions, bound by the specific list of things, bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but the values we share, and the mission to grow our souls and heal the world. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. No matter your race or who you love or how much money you do or don't have, you are welcome here. This morning's announcements are pretty short. Just wanted to remind you guys of our volunteer opportunities. We are still volunteering at I think it's the resale shop, and still taking donations for those families in need. So I think more information is on the website for that also. Okay, it is good to be together today. Now, please join me in the reading of our covenant as we light our chalice. And it can be found in your order of service for those who don't know. Love is the spirit of this church, and serveth its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Thank you, Davis, for that gift. Davis Rogan with us from New Orleans. In calling us to worship today, giving myself the permission, to continue the last call to worship. So if you missed the last week's, you're going to have to catch up. And the other is to be a little self-indulgent because it's personal sharing. Last time I was doing opening words, I was talking about getting the map out and finding the places to go, that give life and surprising, and that you don't have to travel sometimes more than 20 miles to be surprised by the different world. Joking with Davis, he's going to go play up in Evanston, and that's a different world. That's like, oh no, that's a trip to us. If we're going to travel to Evanston, we were talking about booking a hotel and how long we're going to stay and everything else. I have been a lifetime traveler, wanderer, looker. That's what I dream of all the time. And one of the little things I started doing, do we have people collect things in the room? Does anyone collect anything? Yeah. Hold on, let me just tell me what you collect.
Too many things to start.
Okay, I need just one thing. One thing.
It might sound weird, but I have a rare collection of beer bottles from all around the world.
Oh, I thought it was going to be human parts. So beer, no, not because you said they'd be weird. Beer bottles aren't weird to me because I know where to get beer bottles. Here.
Highway maps since I was 7 years old.
Oh, you and me, we would get along. I love getting the maps out. So what I started to do, and this makes my wife mildly annoyed. She's a very peaceful person, but is that I like when if I go a place, I mean any place, I like to get a mug from the place, a particularly attractive mug, and I bring it back. In Savannah, we had an entire wall. And my wife, she drinks her coffee out of one mug. It's the same mug, and it's permanent. And so she says, what are you doing with all these mugs? I brought 3 today. I'm going to talk about, the first thing I'd say that's really important, when you collect, you become peculiar. Well, people who collect have a peculiarity, but it cultivates, and you become quite particularly. I don't know if with a beer bottle, you look at a beer bottle, you say, no, I don't need this one's wrong. I only collect mugs that are 11 ounces and of uniform shape because I like the way they all look together. So I'm going to invite you to bring me mugs, but I do not want handcrafted mugs encased in macrame and other kinds of clay. I want them to be uniform, so they all look good together. This is from the King Museum. If you haven't been in D.C., and this is a quote from I Have a Dream, and this is Dr. King, right? I spent the time this morning, I just grabbed 3. This one's from Nathaniel Hawthorne's house. I had to Google it because I swear to God, I had no memory of going to the House of Seven Gables or whatever, and that's such an unlikely place for me to go because I am not interested in that. Forgive me. Where's my English professor in the audience here? Wonderful, good stuff. But then I looked it up and I realized this is maybe my father-in-law and mother-in-law brought this back, so I'm probably in trouble there too. But this is Prince Edward Island, right? And then I got one from Tybee Island, Georgia. This one says, "Dead men tell no tales," and it's the Pirate Society. This is off the coast. Anyway, this is a little trashy. And so I love these, and I love looking at this collection. And I had this dream, not that my children, following my death, would have to cart these to the dump. I said, when I get two dreams, actually, I have many dreams. One dream was I'm going to open a diner, right? And I'm going to use all the mugs in my collection, since they're uniform size, they're good, and I'm going to feed the people. The other one was I'm going to get a final call ministry, and I'm going to bring them to church and make my church folks drink out of them, and I'll convince them through my homiletical powers that it's a spiritual good to take my mug collection and absorb it. So that's what's happening to you right now. As you sit here, is that I'm going to suggest, and as long as they're 11 ounce, you bring in a mug from your life, 11 ounce conforming mug, and at coffee hour, when you see someone using your mug, you say to them, I see you're drinking out of a Tulane mug. Let me tell you, I used to live down the street from, I see you drinking a Nathaniel, drinking from the Nathaniel Hawthorne mug. Reverend Dave, he's not very smart, but I'll teach you what Nathaniel Hawthorne was saying. So this is the fun we're going to have. So I started with the first 3. You bring the mug, and if there's a good one, I steal it and take it home, and I bring you a mug from the New York Transit Department or something like that, of which we actually have. We have a great collection. Now, how is these opening words? What does this have to do with this call to worship and what is worthy? Well, honestly, our journeys are worthy. The places we go, and we are traveling people. We were talking about that this morning, how far we have come and returned to our place. My hope is that in this house, you will go. You will journey and you will return. There are some of you who indeed will go off to college and then I hope come back to this place. There's some who are just traveling in the summer and return. There's some who go away for 5 years and then re-find the church again. And I want you to not only know that you have a home to come home to and have that homing instinct, but know that your experiences and where you've been matter. And we are the listening ears who want to hear about it. So if you've been to Prince Edward Island, I want to hear about that. We want to hear, what did you learn there? And these mugs, aside from a little obsessive habit, which is peculiar, are a way to invite people into that conversation, more so than a name tag. It's like the least useful thing. I'd rather know the last place I visited or the last thing that really irritated me on TV. You put that on your chest right here, people are going to talk to you. I hated that too, and that's what we're trying to get going. So my friends, this is why we come to church, to see each other, to get curious about each other, and to share our journeys with each other. Come, let us now worship together. Oh, what joy. We got people coming in. And now, I know it's frightening. Front rows are available, and more seats are coming if you want to be in the back row. That's allowed, too. That is definitely allowed, too. Thank you so much. Let us do our first hymn together. Is that what we're going to do?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and the one that is in your order of service is not the one that we are doing. It is, technically speaking, it's 10:09 in the teal hymnal. You don't have a teal hymnal here, and that was my decision, because sometimes we have hymns where you look at the music and you're like, this is unhelpful. And so really, this is a good song to learn by rote. This song is called Meditation on Breathing. And what I will do is I'm going to let you select your difficulty level. There are 3 parts. There is the drone, there is the melody, and there is the descant. And it goes in that order of difficulty. So if you are sitting there and you're thinking, I am not somebody who likes to sing a lot of notes, congratulations, you get to sing 1 note. Davis, can you give me a C? All you need to do is this. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Keep that going. Breathe in. Wonderful. All right, now if that's your speed, wonderful, you can stay there. Up next, we're going to be adding a melody, and it sounds like this. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. So let's give that a try. So it's when I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. So here we are. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. All right, this is where you get to pick. Get that drone going. So we're going to go breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Keep it going. Now, if you'd like to join me on the melody, here it comes. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Keep singing your part. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Keep it going. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I'll breathe out peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Beautiful work. Thank you so much. Our worship will continue.
It's time for all ages. So I'll invite the young and young at heart we actually have stairs to sit on this time. So come on up if you'd like to. Come on up and take a seat somewhere here on the stairs. And it's great to have a few newer friends with us. I'm going to tell us a story today. This is a story adapted from one told by someone named Pleasant Despain. And if the stairs aren't a comfortable place to sit, you can also sit on the floor, you can sit in the front row, wherever's most comfortable for you to hear the story. But yeah, so today our story is about Farmer Joe and Farmer Bill. And these were two farmers who'd been farming their land for a long time. They grew up on that land. They were neighbors. They'd been neighbors for a long time. And they were old men now, and their children had all grown up and moved away to the city, and their spouses had both died, and their only company was each other in this rural place where their farms were. But that was okay. It was okay that their only company was each other because they were the best of friends. They'd known each other their whole life. Now, their stories differed on how this got started. Because Farmer Joe said that this calf had wandered in to his property from the woods on the far side of his property away from Farmer Bill's farm. So he found this calf and he said, I found this calf. I'm going to keep it. And Farmer Bill said, no. First of all, I saw it come in on my property. And second of all, it's got the same rare markings and color as my cow. So that must be my cow's baby. And it wandered off, and it's going to be my calf. Now, they argued about this, and as they argued, they started getting irritated, and they started getting even annoyed, and they even started to get a little bit frustrated with each other. And as they kept arguing about whose calf it was, they started to even get really angry with each other. And they stomped off, and they both slammed the farmhouse door, angry. Now, Farmer Joe woke up early the next morning because he didn't sleep so well that night. And he went out on his porch, and he was out on his porch drinking his coffee, and he looked over his land, and he saw something different. He set down his cup. He saw a new creek, a new little stream running right down the property line where his farm neighbored Farmer Bill's. And that set him off a little bit. Bill must have gone out there and dug that in the night. What? And he looked around. It was so early in the morning, there was nobody around. So he let out and he kind of shook his fist a little bit in his neighbor's general direction. And what he heard then, what happened next was he heard clip, clop, clip, clop, and he heard some clip-clopping hooves on the road, and he saw a stranger ride in near his farm. And this was rare because in this part of town, in this part of the area, you didn't see strangers that much. Usually the only people that Farmer Joe saw was Farmer Bill, or maybe one of his children if they came to visit, or the people in the town who he knew. So it was rare that he saw a stranger, but he saw this stranger come riding in. They looked nice. They looked maybe a little bit mysterious, a little bit of a sly smile. And they had some tools on their horse that they were carrying with them. And Farmer Joe looked at the stranger. The stranger said, "Howdy." Farmer Joe said, "Hi." He was still in a bad mood. And the stranger said, I'm a carpenter. I'm looking for work. Do you have any jobs that you need a carpenter to do? I build all sorts of things. You got any work for a carpenter? And Joe thought about it, and he said, you know what? I do have work for a carpenter. My neighbor just dug this new ditch on our property line, this new creek, and bringing water from the river, and that made me so mad. I want you to build a fence on the property line as high as you can build it so that I never have to see Farmer Bill or that creek or his farm or his stupid cow ever again. And the carpenter said, I'll be able to build you something that you'll like. So Farmer Joe went off to town to do his errands, and when he came back, the stranger came to meet him, and he said, let me show you what I've built for you. And they came riding together onto Farmer Joe's farm, and he saw a bridge, and he saw Farmer Bill come running towards him over the bridge, over the creek. And Farmer Bill said, Farmer Joe, I am so grateful to you for building this bridge. I never would have been able to do that. I was too angry. But you've built this bridge, and we can still be friends. And Farmer Joe was a little, what? He turned to himself for a moment to compose himself. And once he took a deep breath or two, he turned to Farmer Bill and he said, you know what? I think that calf probably is yours. And I do just want to be friends still. The carpenter started packing up his tools, and Farmer Joe said, well, I've got more work. I've got lots of projects that a carpenter could do. I've got a barn that needs fixing. I've got all sorts of stuff. And the carpenter said, oh no, I have to be on my way. I've got more bridges to build. So with that, let's consider what bridges can we build this week in our lives. And with that, we will send our children to their religious education classes with our love. Children are also always welcome to stay in service if that's your preference. If you're new, there are ways to register for our classes if you'd like to join us. So we will send them with our love, and our worship will continue.
If I'm new today, Liz, can I just come with you? Not me. It wasn't clear to me if you were inviting people to come with you who hadn't registered. Yes. Okay. If you're older and didn't choose to go with Liz, then let's take a minute and greet your neighbors, say a word of peace, say a word of welcome if they're new, and say a word of good to see you if they're old.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see everyone.
Yes.
Hi, all you old people.
All
the old people.
I was getting ready to say the same thing, Grace.
Another old person.
More old persons, right? John, congratulations. John Rice, Operations Director. You're not an old person, John, but we are happy to see you.
Hey, and also, I see RT Kotak on this. RT, are you there? And this is Kristen Faust. Are you there?
Kristen.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, what brings you this morning?
Oh, good morning, Kristen. I'm looking for a new spiritual home, so this was a great way for me to see what you all are about. So appreciate letting me join in.
Oh, great. So while all us older folks joke about hello, old people, I just would like to say welcome to a new person visiting us today. So great.
Yes. I echo the welcome. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I got my message on chat.
I did. Thank you.
Good.
You want to say hi?
Marge wants me to say hi. So hi to everybody, new and old.
Absolutely,
Oh,
John.
John.
Good to
Yeah.
see you.
Nice
Hi,
to see
Marge.
you.
Hi.
I'm
Hi,
Marge.
Marge.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy
Good.
7th.
There she is. Hello,
Yes.
Marge.
Wonderful. Hi.
Gloria, good to see you.
Yes.
Well, thank you for getting the sound up, Grace. You seem to do it step by step.
John, it's not me. That was all Cheryl. I was just reacting and encouraging her to keep going. That's all.
Yes.
Cheryl's
Keep reacting.
It works.
Keep reacting.
yes.
Encouraging.
It works.
We all need to bug Reverend Dave to hold that mic up to his mouth.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah. I
Our,
think
our
that's
community project.
Okay. Okay.
maybe we'll
Thank
offer
you.
him a
Thank you.
cup. We'll give you this cup. Hold the mic.
Don't forget to mute everyone.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
You go ahead. It's exciting today to have so many people visiting with us, which is wonderful. And it's exciting today that Sebastian's at such an interactive age. There was like a whole cluster of people to get to our youngest member. Each week we take up an offering. Your offering goes to support the ministries of this church, that we might teach, preach, and do outreach, and continue to grow and do that well. Today's offering will now be gratefully received. Our next practice is weekly, a sharing of the joys and sorrows of our own lives, our families, and our community. I would open it today on my heart. Three of our community members were shot a couple blocks away at 5:30 this morning, 57th Street, right here on 57th Street, and shot outside the hospital from an SUV, and are now in the hospital 3 blocks away from here. We don't know their names, and so can't lift them up in prayer that way, but let us pray for them and all of those who are subject to violence in their lives. May they heal. Does anyone have a joy or a sorrow, a life milestone, something going on in their life that they just want to say a word about? And I'll come out to you. We're a pretty small group today, which is delightful. And I won't give you the microphone, but I'll point the microphone at you. That's it. I'm just going to walk back and forth, and you can think in your heart who deserves your silent prayers, and then also say your name for everybody so we just make sure we get to know everybody.
Hello, I'm Luna. I have a joy. There's this young woman who's fresh out of college who's been staying with me the past 3 weeks. She's staying because she's in an summer opera program with Roosevelt University, and she's the lead in Dido and Aeneas, and it's this Saturday at 12 o'clock, and so I'll be going to summer opera. You're welcome to join me in Roosevelt University. So holler if you're interested in going to the opera.
Opera with Luna, that's like very cool. So it doesn't even matter if you like opera. That's just a very cool church field trip. Any other word? Okay. Yeah. Let me get Leslie, and then I'm going to come back here.
Hi, I'm Leslie, and I have a sorrow. I spent Thursday and Friday with a work colleague, and she passed away unexpectedly on Saturday. So, Inez Long.
Holding Inez Long in our prayers. There was a hand over here. Did you want a word?
Well, I have a little joy that
You can. Yeah. Let's kindle the little joys.
Okay. So I'm a member of the University of Chicago Service League, which I describe as a 100-year-old organization for 100-year-old women. And it's a long story. I joined it as a young mother because they used to have Zena Sutherland's children's books. You know, she was a prominent librarian in the neighborhood, and she donated her children's books to the annual bazaar, and I would go and buy books for my children. So I'm was one of the young whippersnappers in this organization. But anyway, they have little subgroups, and they recently started one that on Fridays afternoons we go and we pick up trash along the neighborhood, often starting on the Midway. And we call ourselves the Trashy Ladies. And I got involved because I'm from New Orleans, and there was, after Katrina, as Davis can tell you about, there was something called the Katrina Crew that started, a woman decided this city is a mess, and so she just started advertising an address, and citizens across town came together and they would clean up debris, and they cleaned up the town that way. So I was motivated to join this Trashy Ladies for that reason. And on Friday, we meet across from Roby House at 2 o'clock on Fridays, if anyone ever wants to come pick up trash with us. And this week we found a Tiffany necklace, and we found someone's complete card case full of their credit cards, driver's license, etc. And there was no phone number in it, but looking at our commonalities, I'm a member of AAA, and so was this guy. And so I called up AAA and asked if they could reunite two customers. And it turned out to be someone that went to lab school who was a little older than my daughter and blah, blah, blah. But at any rate, so on Saturday morning, this beautiful young couple, they live in Oak Park, and they came to get their credit card case, and they gave me a book and a gift certificate to the Cafe by Roby House, and we're going to be friends. And so just in your thing.
It is so full of joys, but I'll just say we give thanks for Trashy Ladies. May they all live past 100. Keep doing what you're doing. For all of our joys and sorrows, those that we bravely share, large or small, those we nurture in our hearts and aren't yet ready for the open air, let's tend to them with care, with a tenderness, with a gentleness. Let us remember to be gentle with ourselves. And please let us be gentle with each other. That's our practice here. May it be so. Amen.
And now our reading of reflection. Bless us with peace. O source of peace, lead us to peace, a peace profound and true. Lead us to healing, to mastery of all that drives us to war within ourselves and with others. May our deeds inscribe us in the book of life and blessing, righteousness, and peace. O source of peace, bless us with peace. Gates of repentance.
I would ask you all to join me if you know it. We're going to be singing the New Orleans National Anthem.
It's a strange time of year, made strange most of all, in my mind, by the politics of the community surrounding us, of the country surrounding us. Feeling, in some ways, at the epicenter. One of the conventions is coming here in August, and events of late have us at least wondering where we're going and how we're going to get there. We also will ready ourselves for a presidential election in November and an inaugural in January that might be different than we can imagine today. Or it might be just what we imagine. In both cases, might cause us challenge. Our challenge, I believe, is worsened by a culture of hateful political discourse and growing division among us. And so to open with that and to cut to the chase, for those of you who might want to go get your coffee now, the answer to this challenge is not enforced homogeneity. It's not enforced likeness. It's not to fuse us together that we might become one people undivided. I don't think that's the goal. We can talk about the new values that are put out from General Assembly. One of those is pluralism. And over these past years, I've spent a lot of time thinking about what pluralism means, because that's not, if you ask a child, it was great to have so many children here, but you said, if you asked them what's really important, few of them would say pluralism. To be honest, if you interviewed adults, probably 10,000 adults, pluralism would be a funny word to come out, I've not done 10,000, but I've had a lot of conversations about virtue, about what makes a good person, what makes good people. What came out here, we did this here in the group, I'm pointing to some of you from the Good Life seminar. What came out, number one? Kindness, compassion, right? This is a simple thing again and again. Many people didn't even need longer lists. Many people were like, well, if you're showing up with kindness every day and extending it to your neighbor, that's enough. I almost think if you're going to need a lifetime ethic, an ethic of kindness is probably going to be sufficient. If you could only take one thing from the virtue table, all these other possibilities, go away, take kindness. You don't need anything else. The world doesn't need anything else. But without kindness, pluralism is impossible. Without a certain disposition toward the people next to us who are not like us, it is impossible to live in a pluralistic way. And I think the possibility to live as one America undivided is setting the wrong expectation. And I don't even think it's the project, you know what I mean, in so many of the ways that's applied. In most things, we are divided. I could pick 5 topics. I'm going to get one of those devices, right, where everyone can vote on their phone. We always assume, oh, in this room we have, 50, 75 people. Oh, and we all agree because we're particular. We selected into this place. This isn't a random sample of America. Good gosh, you're Unitarians in Hyde Park in Chicago. Think of all the particularities that brought you to this place and the way that we have a shared culture that indeed makes us often feel united. And in this political season, I can thump the pulpit and I can say reproductive justice for women, it's an absolute necessity. I can say racist hatred absolutely will not stand. We cannot tell. I could go down a list of 15 things. Global climate change, it's affecting the poor more than the rich. We have to take action. It's a moral responsibility. I can go down the list of virtues that are resonant in this house and embraced in this house, and I could get applause at the end of the sermon. I studied this my first 10 years in ministry, because sometimes people spontaneously cheer. And I noted that it's not when the preacher, and it's not just me, it's not when the preacher does an exquisite job unpacking a metaphysical problem or positing an epistemic conundrum. It's when they say something that is unavoidably agreeable in the room, completely consistent with the platform of those gathered there, and people say, heck yes. And indeed, when you come new to a church, it's important that you run through a litany of those things so people know that they're kind of vetting you, right? Like, what are you for? What are you against? What's this church about? That's not totally wrong. It's the reason why, we have, is Natasha here? Usually Natasha's here. Anyway, you see a pride flag in the Philadelphia Pride hanging on the wall. As a signifier, that's something you really might want to know walking into a church. I'm not detached from that. I want to know, am I okay here? Can I come in here? Welcoming is not like, oh, are you smiley friendly? A lot of people smiley friendly. I'm telling you. It's not about smiley. I think Davis has a song about that. Didn't he have a smiley? Anyway, we'll say that. But it's not the smiley friendliness. These signifiers matter. So that having been said, we are in a little pocket of agreement in a world that is divided, and it is divided in the dozen church houses surrounding us. In Hyde Park. That's startling. I think we should take this opportunity in this summer calm, and July is a good time. It's hot. There's not a lot going on. And the election's not here yet. The convention's not even here yet. To take time to reflect, and especially on this patriotic weekend, and I consider myself a patriot, to reflect on the last presidential election and what it taught us. What did we learn that we're better off now than then? I asked myself that. I was like, oh, I'm surprised all over again. Well, why are you surprised all over again? What have you been doing, Dave? Sleeping? All of a sudden, I woke up that day of the last election, I was surprised by the outcome, I'll just say. And I really didn't understand it. And I'm trying to take stock, and I hope we together will take stock of an understanding of what's going on in this country and what the path is forward, if indeed we are not only people who value pluralism, but the people who demonstrate how pluralism is done. That's the aspiration. We are the people of show, don't tell. You don't spend some long time mansplaining to me about patriotism or about pluralism. Simply show it. How do we show how to live with one another across difference? And that's what I wonder in the church. That's one of those tensions, is that are we the people who easily, I often say this, maybe too often, easily sit at a table with people who are different than us, find common ground, and get curious about uncommon ground, and allow it to stand. Like, we don't even have to agree at the end of it. It's like, all right, let's order another round together. I want us to be those people, and I want America to be the people who, of course, sit at one table. Like, that pluralism dream is not what we're talking about. And we have to note that what's happening in the political sphere and the church house are different projects, too. How you win elections is by dividing, differentiating, and building up your team. There's a lot of smart political theory around that and where you position yourself to get the most people to gather up on your team. Our tiny little project here, we're this tiny community, right? Fewer than 200 people, is to how could you get 200 people to not divide themselves up so you have a stronger winning team, but you have a stronger whole. That absolutely isn't the project of the presidential election. So the first thing I want to suggest to us is not to mistake a cat for a horse. You're gonna be disappointed, and the cat's gonna get hurt, right? That's simply true. And as we look at politics, national politics as a moral exercise, somebody's gonna get hurt. It's not a moral exercise, it's a political exercise. What we're trying to do here is a moral exercise of community construction. In the last election, with the benefit of hindsight, we saw the election results and we got some pretty detailed exit polling, so we know that there were massive schisms of not only voting behavior, but of consciousness, that the schisms could be characterized by gender and class and race and education and wealth and geography. Those lines were so sharp, sharper than they've been since 19th century, which wasn't a great time. Wasn't a great time. And so we ask ourselves, if this is a transient rift to somehow be healed by some masterful orator, or is it a rupture that teaches us that we must radically change our way of thinking about how we're going to live together? And I suspect it's some of each. I suspect dividing us into, there's a wonderful text about dividing us into 5 countries. There was a 6 California movement for a while, just 6 countries in California, or 6 states, excuse me, California, and then 5 countries. Is that the solution? I don't think we would be better off. So, the tale of the last election can be told with numbers, and it's worth taking a look back. Older folks supported Trump, who did not win the last election, 52 to 47. Men supported Trump over Biden, 53 to 45. The South supported Trump, 53 to 46. White voters of all education levels, pause for this, went for Trump, 58 to 41. White men supported Trump, 61 to 38. And white voters, finally, who did not graduate college, chose Trump, 67 to 32. That's startling. How do we make sense of the particularity, the severity of the divide? And I'll say this kind of thing that you might not expect, because so who asked me last night, like, oh, you don't probably have a lot of MAGA Republicans in your church. I want them. I welcome them. And so if you are voting Republican, I love you and I want to keep you. And that's part of what this conversation is about. I know a little bit about this. I came up here from the 2 churches before, in 2 churches in the South, and there I actually had more political diversity. I had some very staunch Southern Republican white men of a certain age, and bless them. We worked with that with a certain tension. I'll talk about that in a minute, though. Here, probably fewer, but it's our intention is to be a welcoming place on that dimension as well. So, how do we explain, though, this divide in America? Indeed, we could take it to this divide, meaning who's not present here in greatest numbers here today. And we could take a theory of something like simple like attraction. Indeed, we kind of vote for people who sort of look like us, sound like us, and give us some of the signifiers that we are part of the same group. There's a sort of rationalist argument that we vote for the people, we vote in our interests. Like, what are the outcomes going to be? Both of these explain something, but it doesn't explain the enormous numbers of people in those groups. And so I'm talking about men, I'm talking about rural folks, I'm talking about southern folks, I'm talking about white people, and it doesn't wholly explain that, especially when we're looking at candidates that do not look like them, that do not share their socioeconomics, their education, their location, or anything else. There's something going on. And it doesn't fully explain people who would abolish programs that constituency depends on. In the case of the right looking to abolish a number of social safety net programs that those demographics absolutely depend on. So something else going on. So I want us to consider these older, white, conservative, male humans, which we haven't figured out, and we're hitting this wall. These are all identities that were historically privileged in significant ways in this country. The disintegration of this group from the whole of the body became evident in the election, post-Obama years, and it is evident today that that disintegration of the body is putting us all at risk. I think we are in danger because we have let the body disintegrate in ways that snuck up on us and continue to sneak up on us when we are in enclaves that convince us the world is different than it really is. And I've preached that in a conservative place in Savannah, Georgia. It's like this enclave is not how the world is. The south side of Chicago is not the world. So this process, and we often talk about in church, of remembering the body. If I could grab a little Apostle Paul, say we're all part of that same body, and then we just get disconnected over time. We get scattered. So folks who are our cousins, we just lose touch. I don't know about them anymore. No, I'm not even related to them anymore. That's what happens over time when the family spreads out, when the body becomes dismembered. So this is a season of remembering the moral body of which we are a part and trying to understand these inscrutable numbers. And the way we live is the only possible gateway to understanding. And what I'm trying to say, and I didn't say it well, is it's not a cognitive problem we have in front of us. Though I'm doing all these kind of demographics and numbers, it's a relational problem. When you are, for instance, in a state of rage, it's very hard to do algebra. It's just true. When you are in a state of fury and disconnection, alienation, and fear, it is very hard to enter relationships in which you can exercise, again, a little Buddhism, right seeing with regard to the soul of another person, their needs, their fears, their trauma. And so what we could do here, if we start to set an agenda, and I hope we set an agenda for the coming season, because I think it will have some surprises that will be a challenge to us. I think there are surprises ahead that will be challenging. Now, that's the least impressive prognostication I've ever heard from a pulpit. Yes, life has been challenging and will continue to be so. But though it comes again and again, like I said, I am surprised by 2024. And I was there in 2016 and 2020, and I saw the wave coming. You ever see the people go down to look for the tsunami? Like, oh, that's interesting. The water's going out. The water's going out right now. And I feel like I'm standing at the edge, being like, that's peculiar. Remind me, when did we last see the water going out? So with the water going out, we have just a minute to think about our actions. And some of them, I want us to stir the pot and get out. I got some people, we were talking about this at the social justice gathering, right? The answer is, let us perform acts of public witness and get out there and be clear about what we stand for. Let us show up in our diversity. Let us show up with our passion. Let us organize other people around us. For each one of us, we have 100 people we can organize to perform acts of public witness and action. Let's do that. I got Michael in the back row. I'm looking at him in the corner. He's one of my marching guys. We also in this place have a power of convening conversation in ways that are different. This is a conversation I was having, I think, with Adam, which is what makes it different when you come to a concert in the church house here than when you go, pick a place, Kingston Mines, anywhere else. Not Park West, you're playing Space. That's a fabulous club. Table service, we didn't have table service here. What makes the difference? Because when we convene, this is the dream, the aspiration, the practice that we're trying to make real, is that the gatherings here have a certain feeling to them, a certain tenor, that the level of fear when you come into this house goes down. The worry that you're sitting next to the wrong person, it goes away. The worry that when you express an opinion that is a difference, that you get shouted down. You won't. You simply won't in this place. When you get a question, the question isn't along the lines of, are you stupid? Or have you read? Or you need to rethink. Not a question, more of a comment, as the joke goes. It's not that. It's genuine curiosity. What does it mean to be a people of genuine curiosity? What does it mean to be a people of reception and conversation and listening? That's why we do these worship themes. All of those things are the roots of pluralism. You can get pluralism, as I said, by randomly selecting 300 people and putting them in a room. That's not organic pluralism. Organic pluralism is a place that draws people across difference and then nurtures them to become their full selves, feed your soul, and become a community that is a community of transformation. Serve the world. Feed your soul, serve the world. I don't think I wrote that, but I like it. There's a piece of the project that's changing how we are with other people, including down in Georgia. You know, my neighbors, Trump trucks. I don't mean to reveal my political leaning on, and I'm not endorsing any candidate. I don't believe it. But I'll just say, it's okay. I can say for me, that was not my vibe. And like one of my Democrat, he comes over, he says, what do we do to the Trump truck? You know, and I said, we don't have to do anything about the Trump truck. They're delightful people. I talk to them about their rose garden. That's what I'm going to do. Is that the right answer? Maybe. That's part of it. When we teach here, and we do teach this, how do you build relationships across difference? Let's not start with the border wall. That's not what the neighbors say. I saw your truck, and I don't. Let's start with 10 other things. Let's talk about saving the wetlands. Let's talk about rebuilding the oyster beds. That's what was going on. You know what I mean? Where do we have common generative ground that we might then say, you know, when I say, no, I'm kind of pro-immigration, and that we, you know, integrate people into our society, blah, blah, blah. It's not a fist fight. It's a conversation that might end with a chuckle and a departure. We're the people who show how to make that. So again, we're not the people who believe in peace. We're the peacemakers, right? We're not the people who believe in pluralism as if it's an automatic virtue. We believe in functioning pluralism that has arisen organically as a result of meaningful values, meaningful work, and love. Yes, love. So, let us now plan our action for how we're going to get out into the world. And like I say, I got a whole sermon, I don't know if I gave it to you, about taking big problems and making small solutions. Taking big problems and making small solutions. It's the number one thing in counseling, doing pastoral counseling. A lot of what we do, I don't want to ruin the magic for you should you want to sit down, is taking what seem like enormous problems, and I mean life and death, right? End of life, difficult diagnosis, loss of your job, loss of your partner. The list goes on and on. They're not small problems. But weirdly enough, the solutions to them are. They're about small steps forward that transform our experience of living and transform the experience of living of the people right next to us. This love your neighbor, which indeed is a kind of transitive property of love everyone. It's not that I don't love people I've never met in pick your country, New Zealand. But it really, I think the teaching of our tradition is you don't have to drive somewhere. Start close. Start close. You can transform the world with self-transformation and how you are with your neighbor. And that might be La Tiendita, our collective store where we help people both in the neighborhood and people who are newly arrived. It's just, come on that Saturday. I so appreciate people who came last time because people came and they're so excited. Oh, my girl is pregnant and we need everything. One young man, he said, we need everything. Everything he could get because he really wanted to take care of that kid, right? Whole families who came, didn't speak English, went there like a department store. Anyway, that's a kind of teaching through action about how do we coexist together in pluralism. We feed each other, we clothe each other, and we represent ourselves through action with a kind of gentleness. Again, grab another like little Buddhist virtue, loving kindness, Buddhist practice, gentle, loving kindness. How do you embody that? Now this is really, I'm not going to do the pew count and the roll call here, but I could name a dozen exemplars in this church who embody loving kindness. And I want you to think, as we end here, we must end, although there's so much more I want to say about this. I want you to think about the people in your life who embody loving kindness. And when they show up at the supper table or when they arrive for Thanksgiving, the entire tenor of the place changes. The gravitational field of compassion. Who are the exemplars and the heroes of loving kindness, and how do we inject those into institutional settings where the currents are going the other direction? The currents are going in the direction of winning, political success, and extraction of value. We don't need to win. We already won. You won. A+s all around, ribbons for everyone. Now, how do we contribute something of our hearts and our souls and our hopes to transform the world? That's the question in front of us. Not what team we're on, but what family we're a part of. May it be so. Amen.
Our closing hymn this morning is going to be number 298 in the gray hymnal, Wake Now My Senses. Again, that is 298 in the gray hymnal. We're going to go for all 5 verses today. I think we could stand to hear all 5 of them. And so please rise in body or spirit for the singing.
You can remain standing if you wish, and you can take a hand for a closing word. As you go from this place, may you be blessed. Blessed with the knowledge that disagreement is not dismemberment. Be blessed with the knowledge that your beliefs are powerful and they oughtn't isolate you from other people, but draw you into relationship. Go from this place knowing that you are loved, knowing that you are safe, and knowing not only that you are blessed, but you are a blessing in yourself to bear upon the world. Go forth in this hot summer and do just that. Amen.